Welcome to Boston Play Cafe. This is a chance for us to glimpse behind the scenes of a play in rehearsal. Often, one of the very first steps of taking a play from the page to the stage is a table reading. At a table reading, the playwright, director, and actors begin to shape the characters and their story for performance in front of a live audience. Tonight, actors Lindsay Bartlett and Peter Eisenstatter will read The Return, a one-act play by Ludmilla Anselm. Also joining us is translator Jim Clinton. Welcome, everyone. Setting the scene. Boris and Rachek are sitting at a table in her home. Both are from Russia originally and came to Boston together 15 years ago. Boris is reading over soft music to a stone-faced Rachka.
Don't cheer me up. Words not needed. Tears welling up. Visions. Deep in pine forest, in campfire coals, a tiny flame survives. Fantasies. You waiting, my dearest. Sunshine on forest glade. Where again will we meet?
So?
Memories come flashing back. Huddled against the cold, singing with friends. The cold fall night. The firelight made your eyes sparkle. And so we met. And married in June 1971.
Boris, you haven't called me for over 2 years, and now you invite yourself here to read this old song. Why couldn't we have talked by phone?
It's not phone talk.
Why, Boris?
You'll understand later. Reshka, why are you so cold? You always called me Borya.
So what is on your mind, Boris?
More and more I realize that our divorce was a mistake.
Oh, broken, unspoken, and spoken understandings I thought we had. No children to worry over, disregard for each other's feelings.
My life has changed. I've had a life-threatening operation.
Operation? Nobody told me anything about it.
I had a quadruple heart bypass. I had a terrible 2 weeks in the hospital, and then complications. Over a year to recover.
I have several friends who are more optimistic than you. Don't be so dramatic.
And that's all you can say? Just, I'm sorry, Borya would have been enough. I should think you would try to understand how one feels when they realize that they will soon die.
You want my pity? Oh, nothing comes out. You still only think of yourself. You have not changed. If we can't find another topic, maybe you should leave.
You're not interested in my inner thoughts?
Goodbye, Boris.
All right, I'll go.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Boris, you forgot your cane. Take your candy and flowers, too.
My gifts? Today's your birthday.
Well, well, you remembered. All those birthdays you completely forgot. I used to get my migraine. Each put another poisoned arrow in my memory.
Reshka, I'm sorry. I'd like another try.
Take them away.
But you need some refreshments for your guests today?
No one is coming today.
Why nobody? What about Tanya?
She has a boyfriend. She has less time for me.
I've lost all my friends, too. They die, take care of grandchildren, wives sick, different interests.
Is your Galachka?
I found that I've moderated my life. She was too active for me.
You have neighbors.
Reshka, all neighbors are Americans. With my poor English, I can just greet them and mention the weather. They're always in a hurry. I think you have the same problems?
That's life, I suppose.
Your coffee smells good. Any more coffee left?
Black, right?
Thanks. The doctor says I have to cut back on alcohol and caffeine. Cutting back coffee has been harder. Some years ago, I understood I can't live as a hermit.
But I can live alone.
You said about my neighbors. It seems as if they're afraid of me, especially after what's happened this year.
The Boston Marathon bombing.
Yes. There's a feeling among Americans that Russia's behind some of these terrorist acts, starting with the assassination of Kennedy.
Boria, you are so paranoid. That's going too far.
How do you explain that my neighbor John quickly strides into his house whenever I appear? For days I wanted to tell him that Chechnya, while a part of Russia, is entirely different from Russia.
Boria, you have become so boring that nobody wants to talk with you.
No, I became vigilant. Remember our old friends and how careful we had to be in choosing them?
They could be only like-minded persons who shared our political opinions about Soviet government or Stalin.
We only talked with our friends at the kitchen table where we had no phone. We had to take care about our safety.
When we got together, what was our toast?
For
For the purity of our ranks.
All understood what it means. We all knew each other so well. All our parties with friends were very friendly and joyful.
Except one.
Do you mean your birthday party when Dima brought an acquaintance? What was his name?
Alexander. He started to reminisce about the World War and Father Stalin. I added that Stalin was having a nervous breakdown at the beginning of the war and Molotov had to announce the German invasion over the radio.
Yes, now I remember. Alexander became angry and shouted, "I won't permit having such a great leader as Stalin talked about so disgracefully." And at that moment, our good friend started to prepare to leave, and then you were so brave and said to Alexander, "You have not come to the correct address." My God, how frightened we all were.
I don't understand how Dima could have brought such a person without our permission on my birthday.
Reshka, I have to confess. Dima did ask me, and I agreed we would meet his friend Alexander.
And you have kept this a secret this whole time, you coward.
Forgive me. Luckily, we survived. Reshka, I didn't ask you an important question. Where were you when the bombs exploded at the marathon?
I was home.
And I was in Copley Square watching like we used to do. I was moving around trying to get a better view. I was safely far away from the explosion.
Why should you want to be pushed around by such a crowd?
I don't know. I couldn't bear to sit home alone. Earlier, when I arrived in America, I was completely happy. But now, I've become more and more anxious and impatient. If anybody can just make a bomb from Macy's pans or buy a gun at Walmart, what can we do?
Here we have FBI and police.
We know that our phones could be listened to by the FBI, and in spite of them listening to a lot of phones, the FBI could not save us from these terrorists.
Now I understand why you said that you didn't want to talk by phone.
Right.
Oh, Boria, who would be interested in your conversation?
I don't know. But I know that I can only talk about my inner thoughts and worries with you.
And your worries are?
It seems to me, now in America, the government has made us to be vigilant. If the small boat owner was not vigilant and hadn't seen blood on his boat, the police would never have found these Chechen terrorists.
So what do you think?
We have to be the same as we were in Russia, to care of our survival ourselves.
What do we have to do?
We have to be on the lookout for suspicious people, black bags, even look out our windows to see if criminals are hiding in our yard.
Boria, you are really in a bad way. You are depressed.
Do you know a good medicine for depression?
Sorry, no.
I do know that only you could make me happy. In these times, we should be together.
We never could be on the same page.
You never felt sorry for me?
And were you ever sorry for me when we were together?
Well, in some sense. The divorce was your idea. You knew how badly I was taking it, and yet you insisted.
I waited a long time for you to change.
I'm sorry. I didn't have the right attitude about our relationship.
What was your attitude about your marriage?
Back then, when we met and courted, you so wanted to marry me. You started the ball rolling. You hung in there. In the end, I decided, okay, I would be your husband, but I would continue to do as I was used to.
Your reasoning It never occurred to me.
I couldn't tell you. You were so happy. I didn't want to screw it up.
Yes, I was happy when you decided to marry me. I loved you. And you? Did you love me then?
I loved you then, Reshka. And I love you even more now.
You are joking.
How do you manage to hide such a flirtatious young laugh?
I don't know. Maybe because I so seldom laugh and smile.
The divorce ruined the whole of our life. We've lost each other. Do you think it was easy for me to leave you in the old familiar nest?
What nest are you talking about? We had only just arrived here and you continued to feel free to chase every pretty skirt you saw. I didn't trust you.
Now you can trust me, I promise. All I want is 5 years in a peaceful, comfortable situation to help you.
Do you want to live together again?
Why not? We're of the same ilk. You're also a homebody. We both have so much to talk about, so many common memories.
Maybe I don't want to remember.
I often think about our past. How close our relationship was in Russia.
Yes, we were joined by our common danger, survival.
Do you remember how we used to go camping? We lived in tents. We set out to find firewood in the forest. We made a fire. Then we boiled potatoes in a kettle.
We never boiled potatoes in a kettle. We put them right in the fire.
Yes. We argued about how long to wait before taking them out.
We were ravenously hungry and burned our finger open in the potato's hot black skin.
The night was cold and clear. All clung to the campfire, to each other.
Dima brought out his guitar and started to play.
We all sang. Let's sing our favorite song.
My dearest? Oh, I've forgotten the words.
I have them right here. Happy birthday, Reshka.
Thank you, that was wonderful. Ludmilla, did you write this play in your native tongue or in English?
I wrote in Russia, and this is my translator. He translated my text.
And in your mind, when you're writing it in Russia, are you aware that at least some performances will be in English and you have to accommodate that? Is that part of the process?
Yes, we like this process.
And as for the translator, is it what challenges do you face when you take a play in Russian and you know you have to translate it to American English, which is its own?
Find a good dictionary.
How do you begin that whole process? Is it just word by word, line by line?
Yeah,
Well, I do it very, very slowly. I do it word by word. And of course, it doesn't make any sense word by word. And then I turn those into English sentences.
And is there a lot of collaboration with the playwright as you're doing the translation, or do you do it by yourself?
Yes. Oh, no.
Yes, we have about
constantly
20
discussing.
short plays.
You've done 20 of these,
Yeah, there are 20 plays.
written in Russian and
maybe.
translated for English audience?
Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
yes.
Wow. As actors, when you know that the play, started its life in Russia, so to speak, does that pose any problems or challenges or opportunities for you when you get a handle on the role and the story?
I find that the music of the language is a little different when you do that. It isn't just doing an accent. We were asked to do this in some kind of accent, but not to emphasize that a lot. But you can't get away from the music of the language, which is a little bit different. It's not American English. It's not English, it's not any of the kinds of English that we're used to. So it sings a little bit differently, and your voice begins to adapt, I find, to the different cadences of something being translated from English into an English that isn't quite mine, if that makes sense.
He's saying your language is very musical.
Yes, yes it is.
Oh, very nice, because I'm shy to speak English. because I'm afraid of my pronunciation.
Oh, it's very good. Lindsay, how would you have answered that same question about knowing you're portraying a Russian, but
Well, I think that the hard work has already been done, you know, the translation. So you trust the words. These are the words that need to be presented. And I think once I'd met Ludmilla and could hear her story about writing this and fill in all the blanks began to be filled in for me. So it was just, again, it is very, very musical. And there's always a little bit of like nervousness with the playwright. Oh, I don't want to mess this up. I want to be able to, you know, be able to give it these words justice, you know. But it's just a great opportunity, and I thank them both.
One of the advantages of having Ludmilla there was that we could then check with her, you know, is this the way you wanted this done? Does this sound like the kind of English that you had in mind when you were writing it in Russian? So, I mean, sometimes it can make a difference.
yeah. And that's not a conversation you have with all your
No,
playwrights.
no,
and
no, I
directors
mean,
when your language is common.
especially if it's Shakespeare, who's, you know, not around to give you the kind of guidance that you might need.
Now, as a tool, and again, as actors, do you find the table read is an important part of your process,
Sure.
or would you like to skip it altogether?
No.
Absolutely.
No. Lots of questions that come out at that point. Or sometimes you might go back and say, wait, that didn't sound right, let me do that again. I mean, it's a laboratory, and I think that's its main purpose, is the first time that you put all this together and see what it sounds like, and then suddenly realize, no, this doesn't work at all, but this would work better, and you can play that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, it's nice to know you're easing into a new show, especially if it's a new script with no expectations. You know, and the first time you read a script, you know, you don't want to be acting. You just want to be, you know, what are the words here, and you know what comes through just by itself without me having to make a decision. You know, as the actor, you know, where can I read between the lines, and then and so you don't make choices quickly, so it's nice and it's more relaxed. You know, nobody's trying to outdo one another. Well, you know, I'm going to show I'm really quite the actor. You're just reading the lines to start with, and so yeah, I can't imagine not having this process.
Yes,
Yeah.
great way to ease into the characters. Huh?
Mhm, yeah.
In what, in any way, is this autobiographical? Any portions of this story? Drawing on your own experience of having come to America from Russia.
Yes. My practice, I like to remember my past life, and I cannot to separate it from this past life. And now I'm interested in loneliness people, especially old people. It is a great problem. This problem not only for immigrants, but for American people too. I saw here a lot of lonely people. And maybe because of this, I wrote about these two lonely people who wanted to organize some common life here together in the US. And it is my sharp interest now in my life, yes.
Now, I'm assuming that neither of our actors are immigrants, or maybe
Actually, I am an
you
immigrant.
are an immigrant. All right, then you're the perfect person to ask. You know, Ludmilla talks, you know, very eloquently about some of the loneliness and isolation that, you know,